Good evening, everyone. It is December 11 at 6:30 p.m. And tonight meeting agenda consists of um, three New Year's things and housekeeping issues that we'll get to in a little bit. I would like to thank those of you who made the effort to come rather than Zoom. And so we will begin this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we have in attendance in person, Ramon Reed, Ed Pianalto, and myself, Tom Gibb. Has anybody showed up on Zoom yet? Not yet. Okay. There may be some latecomers coming in. All right. Tonight's meeting is a public hearing on the 2025 budget. And this has been gone over by the board and had quite a bit of discussion on. I don't think the budget is too drastically different than what we did last year. And so now I would take this opportunity to open this budget up to a public hearing. If anybody has anything they would like to ask or add, now would be the time. So Sarah, what time is it?
It is 6:32.
It is 6:32, and we'll just leave it open here for a bit in case anybody is running late or takes a minute to gather their thoughts.
Can I interrupt?
You certainly may.
I tried to launch the meeting. I can't launch it, and Jared has sent a text message that you can't launch it.
Okay, I'm gonna log out. Start of the budget meeting. The meeting is called to order at 6:30 p.m. and a public hearing was opened at 6:33. A text was received stating that the company was having technical difficulties, so the meeting was closed and restarted. So that's where we are right now, and we'll see if people are able to log on. Let's see. I'm gonna try. Okay, there's Ed. I'm not gonna let you in because it's gonna mess up the,
That's fine.
but I see you there. Will you say something?
Yes, what would you like me to say?
I'm just making sure we've got.
Okay, so we have done the preliminary opening here for a public hearing of the 2025 budget, and we would invite any questions or any comments at this time. Are we up and functional?
We are up and functional. It appears that we have sound. We have not had anybody attempt to enter the meeting, but it is available for any member of the public or Tara to enter the meeting.
All right, well, we'll give it just another minute or two.
Still can't get
Still can't?
It might be her internet.
it. So
Okay, now we've got people trying to get in.
I'm on.
That's you?
I'm a people.
Yeah, it's just Ed and Ramon. I think Jara's having internet issues.
Technical
Phone or
difficulties.
close browser.
Is that what she's gonna do?
That's what I told
Yeah.
Never zoomed on my
On your
iPhone
phone?
before.
You
It
wouldn't,
works.
you wouldn't
It
believe how
works.
many parents I have do that when I hold meetings. They'll be in their car and then,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
you get this view.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh,
Okay,
but they're there.
it says meeting host is inactive.
you tell them it's not safe to
Right.
drive and
No, they
Use your
usually
cell phone.
park. They, to their credit, they usually are parked, but.
So Jared still can't get on.
Now I sent her the text of close the
See,
browser. Reopen
She
it
may,
from the
she
link.
may be able to open it on her phone. That may be less bandwidth than the,
could be.
it looks like I'm gonna have to take minutes manually because we are having some struggle. We are on the struggle bus Microsoft Word right now. All right. I would give it maybe 2 more minutes and then we can probably move on.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay.
Cataract surgeries.
11.
What? Jared had a cataract surgery this morning. So. Hopefully she'll have double vision.
I had one of those. It can be pretty rugged.
Better first
But,
one. Okay.
heals up pretty quick. Cataract surgery.
I had a discussion about that with my eye doctor yesterday.
Oh.
We're putting it off until spring
Ah,
because I don't want to drive to Colorado Springs or Denver this time of year.
It's gotta be easier than popping your eye out. Believe me.
I think we're good.
okay. So at this time, the public hearing for the discussion or questions regarding the 2025 budget is closed. It is what time, Sarah? 6:40. So at this time, is there any comment from a board? I think we pretty much covered it in previous sessions, but
I have a comment. There we go. It's on. I think, yeah, that's on. My only comment on it or thought I had on it was looking at this afternoon, was looking at that street budget again. Its expenses in comparison to years past. But I guess what it hit me this afternoon as I was going down State Street past 9th Street. But I believe the last several years, we were able to put road base on State Street going the other way. But there's nothing been put on 9th going up, and the potholes are getting extreme. So I don't know if. Here's my thought. We've got 15,000 in the budget. My other thought is we have 18,000 in our election, and maybe we won't have to use one of those elections. I don't know if we could transfer that money from that budget to another later on or not.
No, so you can make transfers within the same budget category.
Okay.
Without having to do a full budget amendment. Now, it is possible to amend the budget. It's an official process. I believe there's an ordinance involved. There's some extra reporting to the state that's involved. it's possible. So it's not to say that it's just closed once we set the budget. So that's, it is an option. Yeah, so if the board opts to do that, you know, and I do know, I don't recall, it might have been, trustee Reed, or it might have been Pete, who mentioned this to me, that it might be a good idea for the board to consider setting a maintenance schedule for roads and streets. Because for the past couple of years, you know, Lower State Street has gotten a lot of attention, and a lot of other streets, we just haven't had the budget for, you know. There's some streets I know for a fact that haven't been gravelled for 8 years. And while they don't receive the traffic that State Street receives, putting all the streets on a rotation based on the frequency of use would probably, in the long run, really serve the town. So, I'm trying to remember, we did get the bill from the county for mag chloride, and I think this is a very rough guesstimate, but mag chloride, the county's grading work, and then the cost of the gravel and the hauling, I think probably all said and done, we're probably between $10,000 and $12,000 for Lower State Street. And that's happened 2 years in a row. So it's possible that the board could opt to give some attention to Upper State Street, 9th Street and above, instead of continuing to gravel. Because I would actually say Upper State Street probably receives more traffic than Lower State Street does. I'm not sure, you know, the thought process behind which one was prioritized, but I would say between 9th and the upper end of town, that everybody that comes in and goes to the Plume and then goes back out, they use that street. That's a lot of campers, it's a lot of day travelers. So that might be something to think about instead of doing Lower State to work on Upper.
So I'm just gonna go back to my question too. Do we want to, do we want to consider adding any more than the 15,000 street maintenance that's on the budget when we had, looked like in 2023 was, and 2024 we're just short, but 39,000 each year. This 2024 is significantly less because we didn't have a street commissioner.
We did have the street commissioner.
Not the whole year.
No, but we did, I mean, we did the work though. In terms of, the only thing that didn't happen is, actually, we did have some pothole maintenance. Pete filled many potholes.
Yeah, no, I agree. He went around and filled a number of potholes, but that also brings up the concern for the potholes on Main Street of what we could do with those.
Well, I spoke to the county this fall and they came up and filled that big one in front of Eddie's before it snowed. So you might not know because it's under snow right now, but that one was handled. Is there another one?
There's one on the corner of 9th and Main.
There's
Okay.
actually
Right in
3.
front of Yates.
Yeah, see, I didn't know about that one. Otherwise, I would have asked him to do that too.
I think Pete's was filling it in with the road base,
Okay,
trying to keep it from getting worse.
Yeah, in response, I personally, I don't have a problem as we go through the year of looking to possibly amend the budget. And right now, at this point, I would just soon wait until we have a specific amount or project and then consider at that point to amend the budget. Doesn't cost any more or less either way.
No, and I understand, I agree. I know Sarah told us before, it was in going in and amending the budget. It can be done, it's just not desirable. So I just asked some questions up front.
well, and another thing to consider, so if you look at the street budget on your worksheet there,
Yes.
under 2024 year to date, there's a number that's highlighted in green. And that's how much we expect to have in the reserve fund at the end of the year. That number will change because I haven't moved over to any sales tax. But the number, so then you go to the top of the street budget and we're at account 5110.1 from fund equity. That amount has to be less than the amount in green because that's what we have available for streets. So again, that number will change. I'll transfer the sales tax over at the end of the year and that'll represent a fair amount. But at the same time, the town needs to consider whether it wants to drain that every year, or whether we need to start building up some more significant reserve for larger projects, which kind of brings us back to that whole broader idea of a maintenance plan. So then we have a real solid idea of how much we're going to be spending every year to, gravel, to grade, things like that. I have this prepared for the commissioners and the spending policy, but I didn't set it out before tonight, and perhaps I should have, but I have the breakdown of what was spent on streets over the past few years. So even within maintenance, I've broken it down a little further so that the board can have an idea, for example, of how much is spent on gravel or how much is spent on equipment rental, for those kinds of things. And depending on what kind of maintenance projects the town has in mind, it would give a better idea of how much in reserve we need to save for future years of street maintenance. Because that's, the town of Pitkin provides governance and street maintenance. And so it's definitely a priority. But yeah, the numbers have fluctuated a fair amount. If you want, I can read some of those off to you now, but that's just if the board prefers at this time.
Okay. Got another question for you, sir.
Sure.
Jared just texted me.
Okay.
And said that she should be on if you can add her in.
All right.
And my question is not fully understanding. You'll explain it again. So you said in the green section under the fund streets, it's 22,657.
Right.
And you said that transfers. Say that again. How do you?
Right. So the way we have these funds organized, under the broad umbrella, every general fund except for CTF. That's why CTF is like at the bottom in its own separate little section. That is completely separate, even in a separate bank account. So everything else is considered general fund because the town has not specifically, there's a word for it. It's not allocated. It's, there's a word that means that it's only for this and it's safe for this. We have separate funds, so the town never set them up. But in practice, what the town has done is it has allocated monies for cemeteries, etc. And once money became allocated for that purpose, the town has in practice kept it in that account.
Okay.
So for every one of those individual accounts, we have an operating fund, which is the money that we agree to use during the year, and we have a reserve, which is money that has been allocated at one time for that purpose, and we're not planning to spend it in that particular fiscal year.
Okay.
So at the end of fiscal year 2024, we will have, actually, it's going to be close to that because this doesn't account for snow plowing from the county. But we're going to have, let's just say, because that's the number we have in front of us, 22,657 in streets reserve. After everything we've spent on streets in 24, after everything that's come in, this is our net, what we're going to end up with. So then at the end of the year, on paper, that goes back into the streets reserve. And then on January 1st, everything that the town has budgeted to come out of that fund comes back out to operating. So just on paper, we move it in and then we move it back out. So that's what that number means. Which means essentially the reason that that's here is one, so the town can see, okay, are we building up that fund or are we draining it every year? For 2025, we are planning already to pull out $20,550 from the street reserve to then spend on streets.
Okay.
To make sure that we're
having enough to fund our planned expenses. So it's okay because that number is less than what is going to be in the reserve. So the net of expenditures and income every year for each of these accounts goes back into reserve, and then we pull out again what we're going to use every year, in and out.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Sorry, that was really long-winded.
No, I appreciate the explanation because what threw me is when you said that 20,550. And the reserve.
Yeah, coming from the equity, yeah.
So I guess basically what you're saying is that 20,550 could ultimately go up to as much as 22, say 600,
It could,
but we don't go.
at this point, yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the explanation.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Just for the board's information, this 2024 year to date is just through the end of November. At the regular meeting, I will do a half-month interim unofficial budget versus expenditures, just so the board can have an idea, because we have some large bills that are coming out next week at the December meeting. And then the final official numbers will not be available until February, because that's when we get our last sales tax disbursement. So until then, it'll be unofficial, but it does not affect us adopting the budget. It's just that the numbers aren't 100% accurate, but we trend fairly consistently when it comes to most of these numbers. And we always budget conservatively, so we don't have any.
I'm good. That was my.
That was your question, yeah.
Okay.
Ramon, you good? I'm good.
Okay.
Jared, we see you on the screen there. You're looking pretty good. Can you hear?
I'm doing well, thanks. Yes, and I can hear.
Okay. So I guess at this time then, I would entertain a motion to adopt, resolution 2024 resolution 10, adopting a budget.
I will move adoption of resolution 10, series 2024 as presented.
I will second that. Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Those in favor of adopting resolution 10, 2024, adopting this budget for 2025? Say aye.
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 All right. So the next item, and we'll be ongoing here with this. These budgets, no, actual versus, this year versus last year, and those things that Sarah keeps us updated with. First couple of months, like, there won't be much variation, but we'll see where this goes. I think we've done a good job on this budget. We will find out. Okay, so next is 2024 Resolution 11, which deals with the appropriation of sums of money. And this summarizes the expenditures and revenues for each fund, adopting a budget for the town of Pitkin, Colorado, for the calendar year beginning the first day of January 2025 and ending the last day of December 2025. Have you guys read through this to see what this is? This is just housekeeping, basically, isn't it, Sarah?
It is. It's just the board is officially stating that it plans to spend this money, and this is where it's coming from. So of the money that the town has budgeted for expenses, now I don't have my numbers in front of me. I just closed it. 163,967 will come from revenue, and 31,145 will come from reserves. So when it comes to the general fund, keep in mind that's everything: streets, town hall, cemetery, parks and rec, and then just all the general sales tax, all that stuff is what is consistent here.
So is there a line on our budget worksheet that shows just the revenue revenue or the.
If you look at the very bottom of your budget worksheet,
Yeah. See the 31,145. But
yes, so that's what's coming from,
That's still the
and then general fund income, all funds. So that's what we expect. That's what we expect,
103, that,
correct?
or the,
No, it's the general fund income for all funds is 245,940. So we expect to have a surplus, is what that's essentially saying. And if you look below that, general fund, professional fund is 95,112. That is where we get the number on our resolution,
Right.
95,112. So essentially what we're saying is, in order to meet our expenses, we're going to use that 31,145 that we're pulling out of the reserves, and then we're going to use 163,967 out of that total expected income of 245,940. We're saying we expect a surplus. But what we want is we want to make sure that those two numbers from revenue and from fund reserves equal total general fund expenses, all fund, which is 195, 112. Yeah. We're just saying, getting the money. That's what this res-
Do we have anybody on Zoom in attendance at all? I can't see it.
It's just Gerald.
Okay. All right, any other discussion from the board? Okay, is someone there?
Jira is.
Oh, okay.
Pointer nose.
All right. At this time, I would entertain a motion to a resolution to appropriate the sums of money here that we have just gone through.
this is Ed. I'll move, we adopt resolution to appropriate sums of money. Resolution number 11, series 2020.
Thank you, Ed. We have,
I'll second it.
we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. We are good. Okay, we've adopted a budget and we've accounted for the ins and outs. And the next thing is setting the mill levy, which we only get to, that's like minutes.
That is just formulas. Yes,
Does
and
it
it
even
is
go up?
minuscule. No, it goes up. It goes up a bit every year.
We're limited on what we're able
Yeah,
to
we
do.
are limited. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is split basically between streets and our fire department, is that correct?
So 1 mil
Oh.
street, 1 mil town hall,
Oh, that's right.
and 2.83 mils general operating expenses.
Okay,
Is what that looks like this year. The amount of mills that we're able to assess changes yearly based on the valuation of the town.
okay. Any questions or discussion?
Just to clarify that we're not changing the mill levy.
We're setting the mill levy. So what that means is that we, based on the calculation, so the county gives us their assessor's report. We complete the calculation to calculate the value of a mill,
Okay.
and then we set it based on our limitations. Yeah. The mill levy by its nature, it changes with every year because the town's valuation changes. But yeah, we just set it based on our numbers for here in Pitkin.
Wow.
Zoom just asked, are you playing music?
Can we back up and change the budget for a new sound system?
No kidding.
We can, no, no, we'll add that.
I think we should. This is
I think we'll
crucial.
add that. We can put that on one of our agendas pretty quick.
You bet.
I think hiring a professional would be well worth it. For those of you online, we are just adjusting the sound. Definitely get feedback, but I don't know.
I think our former mayor got some bad advice. He asked me,
I'm like, yeah, he did. Sorry, Ramon.
I admit it.
Hey, you know what? They've gotten us through and they were certainly an improvement. So we're getting there bit by bit. Does off and on work for that kind of stuff too?
No, it's just
Oh,
So where does what Jara hears, where's that picked up?
Here.
From there?
Yeah,
good. Loud enough. I didn't.
we're gonna talk real close, and we are on our tail end of our last item.
No worries.
Okay.
I'm hearing well.
Oh,
Okay,
excellent.
good.
I can,
So I guess,
so we just need to approve resolution 2412, setting the mill.
yes,
Jara's turn. It's Jara's turn. We got three.
oh,
Sarah, I've been informed that it's your turn.
Yeah.
So move.
I so move.
was that a motion?
Try that again.
Did you hear me?
Did I?
Okay.
We need a second.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you, Jared. We have a motion and we have a second by Ed Pinalto. All right, all those in favor of, resolution 12, setting the mill levy, say aye.
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 All right then.
Okay.
I believe that concludes our, meeting this evening.
May I provide a 5-minute or less update on the SLFRF fund?
Yes,
Okay.
explain that.
Yeah.
This, essentially, these were local assistance and recovery funds that came out of the pandemic. And there was a significant list of potential things that you could do with these funds. A lot of them did not apply to Pitkin. They were things like helping with affordable housing or setting up programs for people who lost their jobs. They could get, so a lot of it didn't apply. And the long and short of it is, in order to retain those funds for town use, they must be obligated by December 31st of this year
Oh, so we'll have to get that on,
on the Monday's agenda.
Monday's
And so
agenda.
I have been spending a fair amount of time trying to do some research to figure out what are some options. And the easiest way for the town to retain the funds would be to obligate the funds for lost revenue and take the standard allowance, which means we don't have to fill out a lot of formulas and figure out percentage revenue loss. We don't have to do that. What that would allow us to do is that would allow us to use those funds for general operating expenses. So pretty much anything that the town would do anyway. We could use that for town hall. We could use it to pay salaries. We could use it for attorney's fees. We could use it for anything. We don't have to use the funds until I want to say April 2026. We should use them in 25. So we may have to do a budget amendment, or we may just, filter them into doing something that we've already budgeted for. But
okay,
we have to obligate them. And what I am trying to find out, and I've been back and forth with CML quite a bit today, they're being very helpful,
is that I don't know what counts as an official obligation when you are taking money that you've been given and then give it to yourself. So typically, the federal government considers like a signed contract, an order, that is an obligation. Budgeting the funds does not obligate the funds. And it says specifically a resolution to do something with the funds does not obligate the funds. So what I'm trying to find out is what kind of a paperwork trail the federal government requires to demonstrate that this board has obligated the funds to itself to use as the standard allowance for revenue loss. And I don't know what kind of document do they want? That's what we need to know. I'm sure it's not going to be something that I can't whip up. I think I could probably handle that, but I don't know what it looks like. So we're trying to find that question out. I'm working very hard with Colorado Municipal League. They're reaching out to the office of lots of state offices to try to get some clarity on what that looks like specifically to satisfy the requirement of obligation. I said, we can't sign a contract to ourselves. That's not, so that's why there's some confusion on that part of it. But my very strong recommendation would be that on Monday, once we figure out how to obligate, that's what we do with them. And then we have some time to figure out, okay, what general operating expense or what normal town thing are we going to do with these extra funds?
Do you have a ballpark on the amount?
17,300.
17? 17.
So
Oh, it's substantial.
it's worth my time to spend a few hours on this, trying to get some answers here. But I mean, I do also understand this is kind of a Hail Mary. We're at the down to the wire, but the CML really wants all the municipalities to obligate all their funds. They don't want anybody to have to send it back. So they're being really helpful. And I believe we will have a clear answer by Monday on how to make that happen. So I think rather than try to pick a specific project and go that route, which would be an excessive amount of paperwork, phone calls, and we would likely not be able to accomplish that. It's like a standard deduction. It's a standard allowance. We could claim the whole amount under the standard allowance amount and then use it for governmental purposes. It would go into our general fund.
Well, I'll have, when you come up with some more, I'll have some questions too.
Sure.
Okay.
I figured there'll be questions, but I'm just kind of keeping you apprised of the situation as it develops. If I get something really clear before Monday, I'll send out an email so that everybody has an update. So that way, when everybody comes to the table on Monday, the discussion can be more productive. But I believe that we're going to be able to make this happen.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. All right. Is our business tonight concluded then?
Yes.
All right. I want to thank you all on this lovely winter evening. This meeting is adjourned. It is 7:10, more or less.
Yes.
We're technical difficulties, but
You did good.